Good morning. I'm Judge Ryan Sullivan. I'm going to be handling the calendar today. We are going to begin with our interpreter matter, but then after that, I will ask counsel if there are any other requests. So let's start with Isaac Alvarez Rojas. And good morning, Mr. Interpreter. If we could begin the interpretation services.
Yes.
Good morning. Probable cause has been found and the public defender is appointed.
Buenos días. Se ha encontrado una causa probable y ya se le ha asignado un defensor público.
Let's begin the bail hearing with the state.
Vamos a empezar con esta audiencia de fianza con el Estado.
Thank you, Your Honor. So the state's requesting bail in the amount of $500,000, pretrial services supervision with testing for drugs and alcohol, and house arrest with GPS prior to release.
El Estado está solicitándole a la Corte una fianza por $500,000, además de servicios de prejuicio con pruebas de alcohol y de drogas, y también un arresto domiciliario con monitoreo GPS.
He scores a 5 on the risk assessment and has no prior documented criminal history.
Él tiene tiene una calificación de 5 en la escala de riesgo y no tiene alguna otra comisión previa.
But he does have an immigration hold.
Pero sí tiene una retención de inmigración.
Your Honor, the likelihood of conviction is high on this Category A felony with a possible penalty of 10 years to life in prison.
Su señoría, esta convicción parece ser que es muy posible con un nivel A de delito y puede recibir una penalidad de 10 años hasta la vida en prisión.
Which makes the risk of future non-appearance great, especially where it appears the defendant may not be a U.S. citizen.
Sí, por eso el riesgo de que no comparezca en las otras audiencias es grande y también el acusado no es un ciudadano de Estados Unidos.
This case involves a very large quantity of drugs.
Este caso involucra una cantidad muy grande de drogas.
We don't know how much money the defendant has, but we know drug traffickers commonly keep large amounts of cash in off-site locations.
No sabemos cuánto dinero tiene esta persona, pero normalmente los traficantes de drogas mantienen una cantidad alta de dinero en efectivo en lugares escondidos.
The defendant possessed over $50,000 worth of methamphetamine in his apartment.
El acusado poseía más de $15,000 de metanfetaminas en donde estaba quedándose.
As well as several $1,000s in cash.
Así como otros miles de dólares en dinero en efectivo.
Significant bail that amounts to a detention order is appropriate based on the high risk of future non-appearance alone.
Sí, esta petición de una fianza muy elevada parece que es apropiada debido al riesgo de que no comparezca a las otras audiencias.
But in this case, we also have the risk to the community.
Pero en este caso también existe un riesgo a la comunidad.
The danger to the community posed by high-level drug traffickers is incalculable.
Sí, el riesgo y el peligro que hay a la comunidad de que se trafiquen drogas en la sociedad es incalculable.
As this court is well aware, methamphetamine is wreaking havoc on our society.
Como la Corte ya está consciente, las metanfetaminas están destrozando el caos en nuestra sociedad.
So for those reasons, the state requests bail in the amount of $500,000, pretrial services supervision with testing for drugs and alcohol, and house arrest with GPS prior to release.
Es por eso que el Estado está pidiendo que se haga una fianza por $500,000 con servicios de prejuicio y supervisión, con pruebas de alcohol y de drogas, más el arresto domiciliario con monitoreo de GPS.
For the defense.
Ahora la defensa.
Your Honor, without putting too much on the record about the underlying facts, my client reports that he has been acting out of desperation for a sick family member.
A su señoría, sin poner muchos hechos en el expediente, mi cliente me ha dicho que ha actuado como desesperación debido a un familiar enfermo.
While drug traffickers do keep large amounts of money on hand, mules tend not to have any money that belongs to them.
Sí, mientras que los traficantes de drogas sí pueden poseer grandes cantidades de dinero, las mulas normalmente no tienen ese dinero que les pertenezca.
In addition, any money that my client had has been sent as remittances for his wife's kidney treatments back home.
Y cualquier dinero que mi cliente ya había tenido se ha mandado como remesas hacia su esposa que tiene un tratamiento de riñón.
My client has been in the Reno area for about a month, and before that, he was in Las Vegas for about a month. He's been trying to get a job in roofing.
Mi cliente ha estado en el área de Reno por un mes y anteriormente estaba en Las Vegas por un mes y ha estado consiguiendo un trabajo de hacer techos.
So I just want the court to consider my client's financial situation when setting an appropriate bail.
Entonces solamente le pido a la corte que pueda estudiar bien la situación financiera de mi cliente al proponer esta fianza.
We have no objection to pretrial services, testing, or house arrest with GPS monitoring.
Nosotros no tenemos ninguna objeción a los servicios de prejuicio, a las pruebas que se le hacen de alcohol y drogas y también al arresto domiciliario.
But whether this court sets bail at 500 or 500,000, my client does not have any money that he can post towards his bail.
Pero cualquier cantidad de la corte que ponga como fianza, ya sea 500 o 500,000, el cliente no tiene ni nada de dinero que pueda pagar para fianza.
He doesn't have any family here nearby that can help him post any money towards his bail either.
Tampoco tiene ninguna familia cercana en esta área que pueda ayudarle a pagar la fianza.
And, you know, he's pretty young. He's only 27.
Y también está muy joven todavía, tiene 27.
So on that, we would just ask that the court consider that $500,000 is pretty high for somebody who scores a 5 on the risk assessment tool.
Entonces también le pido a la corte que pueda considerar que 500,000 como fianza es una cantidad demasiadamente elevada, en especial para alguien que califica de 5 en la escala de riesgo.
Our suggestion would be $100,000 with the same conditions.
Nuestra sugerencia sería de $100,000 con las mismas condiciones.
So not only did he have large quantities of drugs,
Entonces no solamente tenía una gran cantidad de drogas,
he had different identifications cards with his picture with 2 different names.
sino que también tenía bastantes identificaciones, tarjetas de identificación con su fotografía y 2 diferentes nombres.
And had apparently rented an apartment under yet a 3rd name.
Y tenía otro apartamento bajo un tercer nombre.
He also had a small amount of cocaine on his person.
También tenía una cantidad pequeña de cocaína sobre él mismo.
All these things lead me to believe that he has been trafficking for some time.
Todo esto me hace creer que él ya ha estado traficando por un tiempo.
And there is a large danger to the community.
Y hay un peligro grande hacia la comunidad.
I will take into consideration the lack of criminal history and the moderate on the risk assessment.
Sí voy a tomar bajo consideración la falta de un historial criminal y también el nivel de riesgo que tiene en la escala.
So the bail will be set at $350,000, bondable only.
Y esta fianza se pondrá de $350,000, solamente el pago.
If he posts, he'll be supervised by pretrial services.
En caso de que se pague esa fianza, será supervisado por los servicios de prejuicio.
On house arrest with GPS location before his release.
También tendrá arresto domiciliario con monitoreo de GPS antes de que sea liberado.
And tested for drugs and alcohol.
Y será aprobado por alcohol y drogas.
Thank you. That ends this hearing.
Gracias, es toda la audiencia.
Thank you, Alberto.
Oh, you're welcome, Your Honor. Thank you for your services. Have a good day.
You too.
Entonces ya fijaron la fianza.
All right, counsel, are there any other cases you'd like me to prioritize today?
Your Honor, if we could take the no jail criminal complaints so they can start processing.
And Your Honor, if we could also take Nathaniel Smith toward the top of the docket, his the victim in that case is going to appear.
Oh, then we can do that one first, Your Honor.
Yes, I will start with Nathaniel Smith, and then I'll turn to those other matters.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. Ms. Karina Smith, if you could just let me know that you can hear us okay? Yes, okay, so you give me the thumbs up. All right. Probable cause has been found previously. The public defender's appointed. This was continued today for Marcy's Law. Let's begin the bail hearing with the state.
Thank you, Your Honor. So as you can see, Ms. Smith is present today. It's my understanding she intends to give a statement to the court. She wants Mr. Smith released, and she does want to have contact with him. However, she did say that he was using whippets and excessive amounts of alcohol at the time of this incident, so the state will be requesting testing for drugs and alcohol. The state is requesting monetary bail in this case, $15,000, pretrial services with testing for drugs and alcohol, and no firearms or weapons. The biggest challenge for Mr. Smith is his very recent domestic violence related conviction. He's got a gross misdemeanor conviction in 2024 for child endangerment and an associated misdemeanor conviction for domestic battery. That case involved a different victim. It was reduced from a domestic battery with a deadly weapon. In that case, the defendant pointed a gun at his girlfriend, her children, and then himself. 2021, he's got a misdemeanor conviction for DUI. 2015, he's got a felony arrest for possession of a controlled substance. That was a California case. It looks like he completed drug court in that case, and then the case was ultimately dismissed. Same year, 2015, a misdemeanor conviction for reckless driving, which was reduced from a DUI out of California. And then back in 2007, a misdemeanor conviction for possession of concentrated cannabis. So in this case, Your Honor, I watched a little bit of the body cam footage. He absolutely destroyed their house. He acted similarly in that prior case. He destroyed lots of things in the house with his prior girlfriend and her children present. So this is just a pattern of behavior for him. He clearly has an issue with violence, and the state is concerned about safety for the victim. So the state is requesting bail in the amount of $15,000, pretrial services with testing for drugs and alcohol, and no firearms or weapons.
For the defense?
Your Honor, we're requesting that the court consider releasing Mr. Smith on his own recognizance. In relation to that case from last year, my client was placed on probation. He ran a perfect program. He had no violations. He completed all of his programming. The state also mentioned that he had that other drug case where he completed supervised programming in that as well and was able to achieve a dismissal. My client understands what supervision entails, and he's willing and able to do that. We don't object to any conditions that the court might find appropriate, such as testing, house arrest, GPS monitoring, and even if the court wanted to impose like a no physical contact, only telephone or electronic contact with the victim, my client would be willing to do that as well. We were able to speak with his mother. Yes, we were able to speak with his mother. She confirmed that he's been employed doing HVAC for the same company for about 8 years. They seem to hold his job for him even when he's, in custody. They say that he's, a valuable employee. So even when he's been incarcerated, they hold his job and allow him to come back. She also confirmed his phone number. He has ties to the community. His dad and mom live in Fallon. He's had his address for about 3 years. So he seems to be stable. I understand that he's got some drug or substance abuse problems that may lead to this type of behavior. But again, he's willing to submit to drug and alcohol testing. And given his history with compliance, I think that the court can rely on him to do what he needs to do. So we're asking for an own recognizance release with any conditions that the court finds to be appropriate to mitigate any risk to the community.
Ms. Karina Smith, is there anything you would like to say about bail or conditions? You do not have to say anything if you don't want to, but I'd be happy to hear from you.
Okay. Hi, can you hear me? Thank you. Nate and I met in AA. He is wonderful. He was sober. When the mental health started to decline is when the substance abuse and the falling off the wagon happened. He was not physically violent with me. When I texted my dad to call him, I said mental breakdown. I wanted someone to take him to like Reno Behavioral Health. He needs help in that sense. He has not been physically violent with me. We have a baby on the way in 3 months. I want him to be there. He's a good father. He needs just mental health help. He won't ask for help. He needs help with mental health and the substance abuse. That's it. He once he gets that, I know how he works his program. He works a great program, but mental health help as well. And there's programs like Reno Behavioral Health or something like that I think would really work for him. He just had to sign a court card before. He needs real help. and he won't ask for help. And that's what we were doing.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. So he has received help before. I hear he went through a specialty core program previously. That's intensive help. The problem is this repeatedly happens over and over again, whether he gets help or not. And I think it was purely luck that there wasn't any actual violence to a person, although blood was flicked all over and there was blood all over the house, a door ripped off his hinges and broken in half, numerous
Yeah.
defects to the walls. And given his
Right.
violent history involving weapons, involving other individuals, there's an absolute danger. This is absolutely a pattern, and it is not going to stop until and unless I don't know what it's going to take. Because if and when Mr. Smith relapses, which has happened before and may happen again, he's absolutely violent. So I think the $15,000 bond will only is appropriate. And he's going to be supervised by pretrial services. If he posts, he'll be tested for drugs and alcohol. I will allow contact with Ms. Smith by phone or email or text, but no in-person contact. I am not willing to risk what may happen if something like this takes place again. So I will allow there to be contact by phone or remotely, but no in-person contact with Ms. Smith.
Even when I had the baby?
So this is just while the case is pending. The case is at the very early stages. It can be addressed in the future. He'll likely be charged with the criminal complaint in just a couple days. Thank you.
We called for mental health help.
I understand, ma'am. You have to understand his criminal history. And I believe there's an absolute threat to the community. I'm so sorry. I know you don't agree with me, but that's the order I've made. I'm sorry.
All right, sir. Sir, this one.
The next hearing, Ms. Lopez, who would you like to call for the no jail complaints?
Mr. Fontaine?
All right, Joseph Fontaine.
Oh, should we push you?
Yes, good morning, Judge.
Good morning. Give me just a moment to make a note on the last matter, counsel.
Yes, ma'am.
So Mr. Fontaine has an arraignment on a criminal matter that ends in 748, and then he also has a citation. And the criminal matter is a no jail complaint. Mr. Fontaine, if you had a chance to review that, and is your name correct and spelled right on that document?
Yes, ma'am. Everything's correct.
Okay. Did you read it? Did you understand the accusation against you?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Did you watch the video this morning that explains what constitutional rights you give up if you plead guilty or no contest to a misdemeanor?
I didn't watch it this morning, but I watched it. I've seen it.
Okay. And when you previously,
We also had the opportunity to discuss his rights and his case. I don't think the video was played this morning.
That's fine, but I just saw him earlier last week and he indicates he's watched it. So that's sufficient for me. Did you understand those rights, sir?
I did.
All right. Knowing you give them up if you plead guilty or no contest, you can also plead not guilty. How would you like to plead to use or possession of drug paraphernalia, a misdemeanor?
I plead no contest.
I'll accept that. I see you spent at least 2 days in jail. I'll give you 2 days time served. So the case that ends in 748 will be closed. And then I want to turn to your citation. That is, we had discussed it a little bit the other day. It's a trespassing and a use or possession of drug paraphernalia citation.
Yes, ma'am.
You give up the same constitutional rights if you plead guilty or no contest to the citation. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. How would you like to plead to count one of the citation, trespassing, not amounting to burglary?
I plead no contest.
And how would you like to plead to use or possession of drug paraphernalia?
No contest.
All right. I will accept that. Again, it looks like you've spent at least a day in custody on this citation. I will give you 1 day concurrent for both counts with 1 day time served. So the citation that ends in 517 will be closed. Mr. Fontaine, I urge you to seek help. You obviously have a problem. So please, there are resources out there. You don't have the court doesn't have to force you to do it. Please seek help on your own or else you're just going to be back here again.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Good luck, Mr. Fontaine.
All right, who is the other no jail complaint, Ms. Lopez?
Mr. Washington, Samaj or Summer Washington.
Summer Washington.
Hello.
Good morning. Oh, I see, Samaj Washington. Okay, there are two Washingtons on this morning.
That's right, there are.
So, Mr. Washington, you should have a no jail complaint there with you. Is your name correct and spelled right on that document?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you read it? Did you understand the accusations against you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you either speak with Ms. Lopez this morning about your constitutional rights that you give up, or did you previously watch the video that explains them?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So knowing that you give those up if you plead guilty or no contest, you can also plead not guilty. How would you like to plead to use or possession of drug paraphernalia, a misdemeanor?
I plead no contest.
Okay, I will accept that. I see you spent at least 2 days in jail. I'll give you 2 days time served, so the case that ends in 750 will be closed. All right?
All right,
Thank
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Was that it, Ms. Lopez?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay. Let's turn to a first appearance for Lisandro Guzman.
Oh, I'm sorry, who was that, Your Honor?
Lisandro Guzman?
That's right. He has a hold out of the Second Judicial District Court, so he authorized me to make bail hearings in his absence today.
All right, let's start with the state. Probable cause is found, public defenders appointed.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state's requesting bail in the amount of $50,000, 50, bondable only, pretrial services supervision, if he's able to post that, and no firearms or weapons. So these are weapons-related charges. He scores a 12 on the risk assessment. He is under active pretrial services supervision. He's got that hold out of Second Judicial District Court. That's on a pending luring a child to engage in sexual conduct case. He was also arrested for misdemeanor resisting. That case is pending. He's got a jury trial set for August of next year. He posted cash bail on a $5,000 bail amount. 2022, he's got numerous felony convictions. He's got a felony conviction for assault with a deadly weapon, a separate felony conviction for assault with a deadly weapon in 2022. He's got a misdemeanor conviction for minor in possession of alcohol and a misdemeanor conviction for attempted tampering with a motor vehicle. So obviously he's a very high risk of continued criminal conduct, especially as it relates to firearms. And as I mentioned, he does have that pending case from, I believe he was just arrested on that a couple of months ago. So the state is requesting bail in the amount of $50,000, pretrial services supervision if he's able to post, and no firearms or weapons.
For the defense.
Your Honor, my client has been on supervision since his release, and he had been doing well until this event happened. I would note that he was in the car with a bunch of other people. I understand that he's being charged with possession of the gun because it was found under the passenger seat, which is where he was sitting. But it looks like there were, several other people in the car with him. So I'd ask the court to consider that. He is set for trial. That trial date is not until the end of this, well, I guess it's at the end of this summer in August. He's already probably going to be held on no bail with the Second Judicial District Court hold. And we were not able to verify that he's working at all. So I don't think that he has any money that he could post towards his bail. And he is going to be held most likely on a no bail hold out of the Second Judicial District Court anyway. So I think that $50,000 is kind of excessive considering the no bail hold and the length of time between now and his trial. I would ask that the court consider setting that a little lower, maybe at $10,000 bondable. With all the same conditions. We don't object to any of the conditions that the state thinks is appropriate.
Thank you. It is highly dangerous to have a group of young men drinking and driving around in cars late at night with numerous guns who then evade law enforcement. And he was already under supervision, so he was aware that he needed to avoid exactly this type of activity. And I'm very concerned he poses a high risk. I think $50,000 bondable is appropriate. He will be supervised by pretrial services, no weapons, and tested for drugs and alcohol if he posts a bond. Thank you. Next, we have first appearance for Dominic Black.
Morning.
Good morning. So probable cause was found. Mr. Black, I can't approve the public defender. You indicated you have $25,000 in savings. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So allow the public defender to represent you at the bail hearing, but given that amount in savings, you're gonna have to hire your own attorney.
Okay.
But let's proceed with the bail hearing today. Let's start with the state.
Thank you, Your Honor. So based on the information that I have, this will likely be charged as a Category E felony. I don't think any of those other felony charges are going to be filed. So he scores a 5 on the risk assessment. The concern for the state is that he's from Georgia. He reported being in Reno for 1 day. But looking at his criminal history, he's got a misdemeanor arrest for hit and run out of Georgia in 2024. The disposition on that case says bind over. Prior to that, he does have a felony conviction for trafficking marijuana back in 2010 out of, I think, South Carolina, but looks like he was pardoned in 2021 on that. He's got a couple of other possession of marijuana convictions, misdemeanor convictions, one in 2007 out of Texas and one in 2002 out of South Carolina. But based on what the state is likely going to charge in this case, as I mentioned, it's a Category E felony. I'm not objecting to an unrecognizance release, check-ins with pretrial services supervision and testing for controlled substances. I would just, for his edification, I would just let him know that if he doesn't show up, the state will extradite him back. So it would behoove him to show up and take care of this case. With that, I'll submit, Your Honor.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So Mr. Black, I'm going to
Excuse
release you. You're going to be released. Let me make it very clear. This case is not over with. And if you do not show up at these next hearings, we will issue a warrant of arrest, and it sounds like the state will be willing to extradite you from wherever you may be found. So make sure you handle these matters.
Definitely.
Your next court date, which I'll allow you to appear by Zoom if you're no longer in the Reno area,
Okay.
will be January 15th at 9 a.m.
January.
So, sir, let me just confirm your email address with you. Is it mr.black201284@gmail.com?
That's MR.BLACK201284@gmail.
Okay. That is where, again, I'm approving a Zoom appearance for your arraignment, but you need to make sure you know how to sign on, that you get an email from the court in advance and all of those things, or else you're welcome to be here in person. But if you don't show up by Zoom or in person, then a warrant will issue. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so make sure you do that, appear, and you're going to need to hire your own attorney. We can certainly conduct an arraignment without an attorney. That's just making sure that you know what your charges are. But you're going to have to hire counsel very soon after that.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Thank you. That ends this hearing.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Right. Next, we have Samuel Rodriguez for our first appearance. Good morning. Probable cause has been found. The public defender is appointed. Let's begin the bail hearing with the state.
I apologize, Your Honor. I thought he was removed from the list, so I didn't prepare him. But if I can just have a quick minute to just take a look at it, I do apologize. I don't know why.
Of course, no problem.
Okay, so Your Honor, I see that he was booked on reckless driving and driving on a revoked. I'm looking at his risk assessment now. He scores an 11 on the risk assessment. He reported being in the Reno area since his release from prison in April of 2025. As far as criminal history, I'm going to see if I can make this quicker. I do apologize, Your Honor.
That's all right. And if we need to trail it and wait a few moments, then I'm happy to do that too.
So I'm looking, it looks like he's got so yeah, the biggest problem for him, he's got a felony conviction for hit and run involving death or personal injury. That was in 2023. He was sent to prison in that case 2 to 5 years. And then prior to that, it looks like he's got some additional criminal history. He's got a misdemeanor possession of drug paraphernalia in 2020, a felony conviction for burglary and grand larceny in 2018. some additional misdemeanors, 2017, 2016, felony conviction in 2014 for attempted grand larceny. So given this case is a reckless driving case, Your Honor, and it looks like he just got out of prison earlier in 2025 for a hit and run causing death or personal injury. The state does believe that bail is appropriate based on risk of safety to the community. It looks like in that case, he was going 60 miles an hour on Virginia Street. He crashed into another vehicle, causing injury to the other driver, and then he tried to flee on foot. So I think he's also a risk of future non-appearance. So on this case, Your Honor, the state would request bail in the amount of $5,000 with pretrial services supervision if he's able to post. And that would be all. Thank you.
For the defense.
Your Honor, we're going to request that the court consider releasing him on his own recognizance with conditions. I think that a no driving clause is appropriate, considering his criminal history and the charges in this case. You know, he was released from prison in April, but we were not able to confirm a job. I don't know that $5,000 is appropriate considering the likely outcome in these types of cases where there's typically a fine of $500 plus fees and house arrest or 30 days of jail. So we would ask that the court consider releasing him. If the court wants testing, there's no allegation that he was intoxicated at the time that he was arrested. But if the court wants testing, given his criminal history, I see that he did get arrested in the past for possession of drug paraphernalia. And obviously this was revoked as a result of a DUI. So I think that maybe testing would be appropriate, and that would have him checking in and mitigate the risk of non-appearance.
So Mr. Rodriguez is allegedly the driver of the vehicle that had young men, alcohol, guns, and that frankly fled the police, although I see he's not noted as eluding. But one of the officers was certainly trying to catch up on them on a bicycle and ended up crashing on his bicycle. And hearing that he has criminal history regarding driving and hurting another individual, and he scores highly on the risk assessment. That was why I kept him on for the hearing today. I think that there is an absolute danger to the community, and Ms. Lopez, you may be absolutely correct in how it's handled, but I don't know. I don't know what further investigation will show. So I think bail at $5,000 is appropriate. That's bondable or 10% cash. If he posts, he needs to check in with Reno Justice Court by 5 p.m. the next business day, and we will track his case from there since they're misdemeanors. Thank you. Next, we have a first appearance for Kevin Washington.
Your Honor, my client waived his appearance today. This is an ad book. He's in custody already on a fugitive hold, and he's in custody on a case that he got arrested on a couple of days ago. So he's authorized me to make arguments in his absence.
All right, let's start with the state.
Thank you, Your Honor. So yes, Mr. Washington is in custody on a domestic battery by strangulation. That case is pending out of this court. His bail was set at $30,000 bondable only. I think it's probably likely that these charges will be joined up with that case. So as Your Honor read in the PC sheet, he made a number of statements trying to dissuade the victim witness from appearing at court, tried to encourage her to go file an affidavit with a bail bondsman, essentially recanting everything. He has a horrible criminal history. I know some of it was outlined in the probable cause declaration, 2025 cases out of California involving domestic violence, numerous cases. And actually, I believe he had a felony conviction as well. But in any event, Your Honor, he has a horrible criminal history, multiple felonies going back to 2007, most of which are related to violence, some of which are related to domestic violence. So the state is requesting additional bail on these charges in the amount of $10,000 with the conditions previously imposed on the original case, those being pretrial services supervision, no firearms or weapons, and no contact with the victim.
For the defense.
Your Honor, you know, if he had been able to post bail, he would have already. Adding any additional bail here is going to be superfluous. Additionally, if the state believes that these charges are going to be wrapped up in the other ones, I don't know that an additional bail is necessary or appropriate. Reading the PC sheet and looking at the phone calls, it sounds like his partner had already talked to the DA's office and had already made the decision to tell the DA's office that she didn't want to cooperate. So I don't know how much, I really don't know how much dissuading really occurred. But I don't know that adding additional bail to this, if he had been able to post bail, he would have by now. It's already set at $30,000 bondable for the domestic, and you know he hasn't been able to post it despite the fact that he's obviously been making phone calls. So I would ask that the court leave it as is, leave him on the 30,000. He's got a fugitive holdout of California anyway. So he's going to have to handle his local charges first and then go see what California is going to do. He's on parole there, so he's at risk of being revoked on that as well.
The documentation of these calls, and a couple were before his bail hearing where Judge Birchie indicated he cannot contact Ms. Valdivia, but there was numerous statements afterwards. Ms. Valdivia describes how badly her throat is hurting because of what he did, how she can't even touch it. She describes the horror her child felt when watching the domestic violence taking place. So I don't think it's a situation where absolutely nothing happened and Mr. Washington is urging her to tell the truth. I think it's exactly the opposite. And he is trying to persuade her, despite saying how afraid she says the family was, despite the bruises she described were all over her. So I think that Mr. Washington even makes mention that he refused his bail hearing. I don't know if he thinks that by evading these hearings, he's not held responsible, but he absolutely is. So I'm sure his public defender told him before, but he needs to be told again. All these calls can and will be used against him. I think an additional $10,000 is appropriate. It's bondable or 10% cash. No contact with Valdivia. That's been in effect. It's also effective immediately today, and all his other conditions relating to his previous case still apply. Next, we have a first appearance and revocation matter for Larry Wofford.
Yep.
Good morning.
Morning.
On Mr. Wofford's first appearance, probable cause has been found, public defenders appointed, and we're also here on the revocation hearing, which is the misdemeanor. So let's begin both matters with the state.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state's requesting $1,000 bail on each case with supervision and testing for controlled substances if he's able to post. So he has that misdemeanor arrest from November 18th. Just a little over a month and a half ago, it looks like. At the time, the state didn't object to an own recognizance release. At that time, despite he does have some prior criminal history. He's got felony convictions in 2022, 2014, and 2011 for grand larceny of a motor vehicle, attempted carjacking, and attempted robbery. He also has a couple of controlled substances related convictions, misdemeanor conviction for PCS and a misdemeanor conviction for being under the influence of controlled substance. Both of those were out of California back in 2010. So it appears he's got a very lengthy history of controlled substances use. He did admit in this case that he had used meth a week prior and marijuana 3 days prior. So unfortunately, he is a high risk of continued criminal conduct. There is a risk to the community there. So the state is requesting $1,000 on each case and supervision with testing for controlled substances.
For the defense.
Your Honor, in the previous case, the case ending in 427, that is the kind of illegal reentry trespassing sort of case. My client was released on his own recognizance and he has appeared at every court hearing. He went to his arraignment. He's got a status conference set for, I think, Monday. In this case, you know, it sounds like he lost his job in August and then he got arrested in November when he re-entered that apartment allegedly. Ever since then, he's been staying at the CARES campus. We talked to his wife. It sounds like they might be separating, but nevertheless, she seems to indicate that they're waiting a voucher through the Reno Housing Authority. So hopefully he's going to be getting housing soon. Obviously, that can't happen if he remains in custody. These types of offenses are less likely to occur if he's, appropriately housed. He has been showing up and doing the things that he needs to do for court. I believe that if he were to be placed on testing and conditions, his past performance is an indicator of future performance. He's going to come to court. He's going to do what he needs to do. I think, we're just really concerned about him having that voucher and losing his spot with the Reno Housing Authority. It's really difficult to get on that list. It's really difficult to get off that list, especially now that we're entering the colder months. So we're asking the court to give him another opportunity. He's willing to do whatever conditions, including no driving and testing, checking in as often as the court wants him to. And we can make his arraignment on Monday at the same time as the status conference for the other hearing. Or we can set it another day. He says that he'll come to court whenever the court wants him to.
On the previous misdemeanor that involves the unlawful staying or illegal entry, I'm not going to hold him on that. I'm going to keep his own recognizance release in place. But on the new driving under the influence allegation, I'm concerned. He's admitting to using methamphetamine. He crashed his vehicle. Luckily, his car was the only one that was involved and he didn't hurt anybody else, but that there was a crash. And he also scores, he was overridden, but he scored a 7, which is not low, and his record is pretty severe. So I think that monetary bail is appropriate on the DUI allegation. I'll set it at $1,000. That's bondable or 10% cash. I think that's kind of generous given the totality of the circumstances. And if he posts that, he's to report to Reno Justice Court by 5 p.m. the next business day, and the DUI rant will be completed. Thank you. And we'll keep his other case in place for the mandatory status conference on the 5th.
She set you a bail on the DUI only, so she released you on the other one.
Okay, but that means I'm staying in class.
And Judge, I'm gonna change his MSC to 9 a.m.
Okay.
Since he'll be in custody for now.
Yep, that's fine.
I overran my last one.
All right, counsel, I believe that was all for this morning. Ms. Phelps, anything left? Any questions? Concerns?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Right.
I'll wait and ask Ms. Lopez.
All my unemployment, if I do not certify, I will lose all my money. Also.
Yeah, so I told the court that, but she made a decision.
I get that, but
Okay,
if
Mr. Woodward.
if Zeno or I would do anything, I'll go back, he's gonna program anything.
Your Honor, Mr. Wofford would ask if the court would additionally consider inpatient transport.
So I'll consider a direct transport to inpatient treatment, but it's got to be direct. There's no getting out beforehand unless he posts a bail.
No, I mean, can I speak?
Sir, I'm not changing my mind again. I've already listened to everything. I have big concerns. So consider it a gift that I set the bail as low as I did and that I'm allowing a direct transport. Don't make me rethink it because you crashed your car and you told the police you had used meth and something else a week prior. So no, this is the absolute best I'm going to do.
Walker, this way, please. On that regard.
Ms. Lopez, any questions on anybody else?
My God. I was fine until you asked me that. No additional questions. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Ms. Lopez. I really appreciate your willingness to handle those no jail complaints on the weekend. I really appreciate it. We had some other cases over the weekend that the public defender wasn't willing to do, and I wasn't quite sure why. So I appreciate your willingness. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Happy New Year.
Have a good day.
Thanks. Happy New Year.